All right, fantastic. The final Founder Friday interview of this season and this series is with Gianluca. Great to have you here, my friend. Please, for those people, whoever they are, that don't know who you are, please could you say who you are and what you do?
My name is Gianluca, and I am the CEO of Metasonixx. I'm one of the two founders, and my company sells acoustic privacy, which means you don't need to live in a noise environment anymore. You can bring light, transparent, airflow through solutions with you.
Okay, so this was research spin out, right? This was from some sort of deep tech understanding?
Yes, it's a deep tech company because we started from university. We started from university IP that we bought with shares. And then we started doing our own IP and our own building on top of that so that we could transform a generic umbrella IP into products.
Okay. And, my understanding is that these products were going to places like co-working spaces and stuff to create sound barriers. Where else do you use this stuff?
We are also doing a secondary window, so something which would be more. So what you described is a B2B solution. Mm-hmm. We also are doing a B2C solution, which is imagine you have a hot day and there is noise outside, and you don't want to close the window, but you don't want the noise. So we have something which is like a curtain, very thin, that will go in front of your window while maintaining transparency and the airflow. But interestingly, that will also go into restaurants along the seaside, where they want to have Stewart's famous celebrations for his birthday, but not annoy the people around. And if we are very good, we will also manage to get them into hospitals where acoustic privacy is beneficial to patients, but not really there yet.
Okay, fantastic. Now, this startup has been going for a little while now. What's the timeline been like for you from getting access to the research through to today? How many months, years, days is that? And
so the research was available in 2018. There was a long discussion among all the people who were involved in the game at the time. And typically this happens with a university startup. This is a distillation game. So eventually there is someone who actually wants to be there full time all day. And that was the period 2018, 2019. We started the company in 2019, then lockdown arrived. And for someone who does hardware that reaches people, that makes things a bit more difficult. On the other end, that was our first chance of trying into hospitals. And we have been working based on that feedback for all these years up to now. So we cracked manufacturing in 2023. We started selling into offices, which are easier than hospitals, in 2024. And since then, the product-based revenue has increased, working with blue chip companies first, and then working with small legal companies which value acoustic privacy and the privacy of the customers. The scenario is always a communication like the one we are having, Stewart, where you are there and you don't want all the others around you to hear what you're saying.
Okay. It'd be quite helpful today because I'm in an open sort of co-working space, so I could put that screen around me right now and I wouldn't be bothering people.
Yes, and in fact, based on the feedback of people like you, we built a yoga mat version of it that you can roll up, take around, mount it on your table, close it, and take away.
Okay. So I know you're based in the UK now, but what's your background and how did you come to this university situation?
The accent is Italian, and I arrived in this country in the UK a lot of years ago. On the aftermath of my trying to be an astronaut, eventually I came here for a very futuristic project already based on sound and noise. And then I spent some time into the Meteorological Institute of the UK, where I learned that research is not in the universities alone, but a lot of the change is really done by companies. And so at that point, when I had an idea that needed to start again, I went back to university because I needed some development. And then as the market was mature, or as I got ideas from end users and I could put numbers on my forecast, I started the company.
Now, for an Italian man, my stereotype is that you might not be as patient as you must have been to get through all this university stuff over your time. How do you navigate the length of time it takes to do all these things and to do the PhDs and to get the Innovate UK funding and to go through these research discussions? How do you master that?
Badly. The idea, when you start a company, you really want to run. And whether you are Italian or Portuguese or British, anything that comes in the way seems to be delaying you. You really want the money soon, and you want to run with it, and you want to grow, and your idea is the best, and you have to make sure that everyone believes that. But the truth is that the customer and the end user is really deciding what they want. And they are and it's not so clear, especially in acoustics, where we leave sound, we leave noise around us, we survive it. We put headphones and that's it. So you navigate with maintaining your happy thought, Peter Pan would have said, and keep it strong, and making sure that to protect it, even when things go badly. And we went very badly last year. We were almost close to close. And again, a startup is always on the verge of that. You're always tight rope walking between success and failure. And that is an interesting situation to be. So to answer your question, maybe that is how I navigate, with the fact that it's a roller coaster, and being on the roller coaster, you go up and down all the time. Absolutely. And once you have done the first 2 rounds, you know that that's the game.
No, I remember you telling me about going to do your PhD and the process that there is in Italy for doing that. I think that's also a really interesting indicator of your patience and fortitude doing something like that. Are you able to explain to people who've never gone through the Italian system what you have to do there for those applications?
In Italy, at my time, starting a PhD was a national competition. So what you had to do is you had to apply in different places, and then you went around and did an exam in every place. And the goal was to get into be shortlisted in multiple places, so that behind the scene, there could be a negotiation saying, I take that guy, I take that guy, I take that guy. And eventually you go into the one that you think is closest to what you want. And during my PhD search, I ended up finding a project which was completely different from what I thought was my best during my master thesis. But it was so fascinating that I decided, you know what, that's it. And in a way, that is the jump that you do when you start a company. That's it. I want to be in that. I want to be the person who makes a difference. And if every PhD is there to start to save the world, maybe doing a startup is similar. There is a lot of adjusting and pivoting during a PhD. You learn a lot that is not so much what you do, but the resilience that will get you to the end. And again, there is a parallel between this and the journey of a founder. I don't know. Is that what you think? Stewart? What do you think?
Well, no, I mean, at the age that you were doing the PhD and the process you had to go through, I mean, I just thought it was very arduous. It showed a lot of resilience, and a lot of fortitude to get through it. I agree. There's a lot of parallels with being a founder, but I don't think I'd have been able at that age to have navigated a process like that. It was very interesting. Now, you've thrown me a seed at the start of this discussion, the whole astronaut thing. I think that might be worth explaining if you're comfortable to do that.
Sure. So I said that I chose a PhD, which was completely different to what I was doing. And that's because when I entered so they showed me the lab, I realized that they needed someone. So I'm a physicist by background, and the physicists are normally called when there is a question that no one else can answer. And more often I learned in my career when people don't know the question. Okay. And so your job is to find the question and to solve it. I was proposed a project which would take me on the Vomit Comet in 2 years. The Vomit Comet is a plane that in the EU is managed by the European Space Agency, where you do experiments in microgravity. So what happens is that you float while you're doing your experiment. And I had in my career twice the pleasure of flying on the 0G plane by the European Space Agency. But to fly on it, you need to pass 2/3 of the exams that you go through when you want to become an astronaut. And at the time, I really wanted to be an astronaut. But at the time, astronauts were pilots, mostly. Now astronauts are scientists. So when I didn't pass the piloting bit, I realized that I could be the other one in the long term and grow as a scientist more, so that eventually I would reach the stars.
Okay, amazing. You've had multiple lifetimes already.
But I remember the test. So one of the tests is you sit on a chair and it's a gyroscopic object. So it starts rotating in all the possible ways, and everybody knows that at some point you will vomit. The question is how long before it happens. And the other one is they bring you in an hypobaric chamber, which is a chamber where you write your name while they take away the oxygen. And so the question is, at some point you will faint. The question is how long before you faint, how long you can do a task before you faint. And that was extremely interesting. And also, when you have done the parabolic flight, you recognize, you understand much better what the instructions that they give you on a plane, on the oxygen, and the what happens when why you need to have your seatbelts, etc., etc. But that's a different story, not for today.
Okay, fantastic. Well, sort of returning a little bit more directly to the founder stuff. Is entrepreneurship in your background? Is it in your family's background? Were there other business people or founders in your family?
No, no one. My father was a clerk. So he said from the start that I should do economy as a career. And I said to him, no, I want to do physics. And he was disappointed until I started my own company. And he said, aha, I told you. So no, there was no one. And a lot, in fact, of the challenges at the start are the jargon. So you come as a technical founder, the first most difficult question that I heard was, what's the cost to acquire a customer? I remember a conversation with an investor in the early days, and I had no clue what she was talking about. So there is a lot of learning for a technical founder to actually enter in the language that you need to run a startup. That's why a lot of startups that grow have someone who has a technical background and someone who has a non-technical background, who are maybe can join the language and fill the gaps together. It's a patchwork.
Okay. And do you think it would have helped you if oh no, sorry. Well, no, do you think it would have helped you if you'd done more founder education before you moved into the startup itself? Would there have been any course or anything you could have learned from that would have enabled you to be ready?
So I did some after, Stewart.
Okay.
So you start the startup, you realize you have a gap, and you will search for courses. And what I'm doing now, so I did one with an accelerator in Bristol. I did one with Innovate UK. They had different degrees of being theoretical. No one really tells you the things that you learn on the floor. And that's why I'm returning this as so I give an entrepreneurship course now as a way to tell people also the bad things that happen, the things that you don't expect, and no one tells you when they tell you the theory of entrepreneurship.
Do you teach?
What's your opinion? What's your experience in this, Stewart? You also teach entrepreneurship, don't you? In addition to being an exceptional mentor in doing this.
You're very kind, very kind. I think entrepreneurship is a verb, not a noun. I think you learn a lot by doing, but I think you can learn in safer environments than risking lots of people's money. So I think there are ways to do it. But I think a lot of the education is about creating the language rather than actually creating the skills. So I really liked being able to teach at Falmouth because it was an experiential course and they allowed me to reshape the way we did assessments and stuff to be super, super practical. So as an example, we moved one of the modules where you had to finish your assessment ultimately was graded against a product demo, which previously had been graded against a plan for a product demo. So it was a very different evolution. And the founders, some of whom have gone on to raise money and some of whom have gone on to be on TV and all sorts of things, were learning their skills there. And we also included not just giving a demo and being taught by me about how to do that, but we included from Falmouth specialist education in from theatre people. So actually how to hold yourself, how to breathe, how to present, how to be authentically comfortable in your own skin, that kind of stuff, which really helped elevate their abilities as founders. Again, all through doing, not just like they didn't sit in a room and somebody said, this is how you breathe. They stood in a circle, he showed them how to breathe, then he helped them breathe, and then he got them to do lots of it, and then showed them how to project their voice in the strongest way because of the breathing, that kind of stuff.
I think the learning that theatre can give to founders. So I am an amatorial thespian, and a lot of the interactions were mutuated by theatre skills. So if I had to recommend someone to try something out of the box, would be to try experience a theatre background, not a, I wouldn't say a speech or a dialogue background, but try actually theatre, because your body is part of the game.
Huge, right? It's huge. It's a great weapon in your ability to effectively communicate. You can say an awful lot without actually saying anything.
You can indeed. You can indeed. And the other interesting bit is there is another part in theatre which is storytelling. And storytelling is is probably the ace that every successful founder have to play when it's needed.
Well, because particularly at the beginning, you don't really have much else other than the story,
Exactly.
Right? So you've got to be good at telling it. Now, you were a People's Choice winner this year at City University, and part of that was your theatrical skills, right? So you were singing at one point and getting the others engaged. I know I wasn't at that edition, but people who were still talked to me about it and how much they enjoyed it.
And that was part of the game. And if it's true that you have to stand out as a founder, eventually they say be yourself. But be yourself means also your quirkiness, let me call it that way, your special being there. Because if you did the step of becoming a founder, you're already a special person. And why not sharing that? And part of that for me was sharing my musical theater bit. Part of that was presenting my products like a magician's game. So yes, there was a theatrical part in that for sure.
It's
But
good.
the comments that the people sitting, so it was very interesting to see the dynamics of the demo night, because the comments that the others got were in that direction. So be more theatrical, show us more, give us more of the dream, give us more of the big vision. And at the same time, be yourself and use it.
And it's interesting, you've got a research background, a PhD background, a deep technical founder, and then you're talking to me about storytelling and theatrical ability. And in most people's stereotypes, you just wouldn't be that guy, right? You would be much more detail oriented. You would be much more about the technical facts of things. You wouldn't be elevating into a story. Why do you think you've got all these different qualities going on?
I think it's just recognizing them more than I don't know why I have all these qualities. I'm a curious person. I've been doing a lot of things that I like and trying to enjoy them. So one theater teacher once said that Gianluca is the person who, when he finds something that he likes, he goes down fully into it, full speed. And that's maybe the reason. The question is what you learn, what your body learns, what your voice learns, what your face learns. And all these things are then useful as a founder. For instance, so I didn't tell Stewart about this, guys. So let's see what he does, okay? So I like board games. And yesterday I was at a charity event where they were selling board games for charity. And I bought one which is called Pitch Deck. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And this one it says, Pitch Deck is a game about convincing your friends to invest in the most ridiculous startups imaginable.
That sounds like my idea of a good time. Okay.
So I will be using this. So we have interns these 2 weeks. Again, as part of returning and part of the fact that you have to recognize your skills. We have 16-year-olds as interns here at Metasonixx, and we'll be playing this.
Okay. And that's a real game, though. It's not just a one-off. That's something people can buy commercially, is it?
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, I'll have a look for that after. Thanks for dropping that one in. And are you happy to talk about any of your biggest challenges since you started being a founder? Maybe on the personal development side, or maybe on the product itself?
I think I mentioned already something on the personal development side. Can you help me with some questions, maybe, Stewart?
What are your most difficult, the challenges you faced?
Okay. Right, on the product side, for instance. And again, I hinted to that earlier in this chat. We went in the hospitals during lockdown. Every time that we were allowed out of our houses, I was in an hospital to try our products. So I've seen a version of the pandemic that, as a technical person, I was not expecting to see. And that hopefully no one of us has seen. But the feedback, the first thing that happened when I arrived in the hospital was, how can I clean it? What's this? You should ask me how silent it is, how movable it is, why are you clean? But that was the important bit. So one of for them, otherwise you wouldn't even enter an intensive care unit. So listening to this was my first experience of the fact that when you become a founder, you have a lot of people who are your boss, and those are called customers. And they decide there is nothing to say. And if you are not there, you're not there, you're not selling. You might have the fantastic product, but no one will come. So spending time with the customers was my first important lesson. I already mentioned the story about the jargon. And then there is pivoting. So I wanted to do something for the hospitals. It was lockdown. It was my way of fighting COVID. It was my solution. It was my intuition. I wanted to get there. But eventually that market was far away because it was not ready, or I was not ready technically or actually visually to get into that. So we started with offices. As an acoustician, designing an office is a nightmare because everyone takes the noise and prefers to stay home. In fact, after lockdown, a lot of surveys demonstrated that the noise is the top reason why people don't go back to the office or avoid shared offices like the one you are in.
Okay.
What do people do with it? They wear headphones like you're doing. Or they wear noise cancelling headphones, which in the long term might not be the real solution. We need spaces which are designed for people. And as acousticians, until a few years ago, we didn't have the tools. So the company and the direction it has taken starts from a pain I knew very well. I'm an acoustician. I know that if I'm designing an office, I don't know, I cannot give you what you would like to have.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can. And that was another part of the learning.
Well, how about we flip the question, Gianluca? What are your greatest joys about being a founder? Because it's not a straight line, right? It's not an easy path, but there's obviously joy in it for you. What are your greatest joys?
I wanted to add one bit, and then I'll go for the joys. Okay. One bit is, and then there is cash flow. So cash flow is the moment when, according to statistics, in this country, company fail for the team, year one, for the product that no one wants, year 2 or 3, and then because you are dreaming too big and you don't have the money to get there, and that's cash flow. And while on paper everything was smooth, in reality it wasn't. And so when you reach a minimum, when you seem to see, and I mentioned that already earlier, when everything seems to be crashing, and that's when you have to go back into yourself and start from the little bits of taking care of yourself to survive these moments. And Canopy and Stewart helped me with this part, remembering that as a founder, you are the person who has to grow before your company. Now, Joyce, there is the moment when you see people saying, aha, that really works. and then they start telling you their incredible ideas about what else you could do with your product. So every time I go into a demo, I know that I will come out with another 10 or 20 potential ideas of people who start getting that now they can shape their acoustic environment like they want.
Okay.
And that starts from, can you stop my husband from snoring, to can you make sure that I don't get the adverse I don't want? So I think the greatest joy is with people.
Amazing. Now, as you know, this podcast series is predominantly for first-time founders. So it's very important for me to finish up today by asking you the question, what is your best advice as a seasoned founder now of so many years? What's your best advice for a first-time founder trying to begin their journey today?
A lot of people will tell you how you could do this better than you're doing, but eventually being a founder is empowering, and it's your decision, and you are the only one who can take those decisions. They say something similar for parenting, but they also say that having a startup is having another child. So maybe there is a parallel there in that sense. So there is always someone who has done that and knows better. And some of them are real, some of them apply to you, but the people who tell you from the start, you cannot do it, they're simply not for you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Gianluca, for sort of sharing your perspective on the world today. And thank you for all you've contributed to the community over the last couple of years. It's been great to have you in it, and great to see you win the People's Choice this year as well.
Thanks, Stewart, and thanks to the community for all I got. Every time I go to a meeting, I learn something, and that is extremely important, especially from the young guys. Because I'm a dinosaur, Stewart. We know that, right?
Hey, the learning's in multiple directions all the time, right? Everybody's got something to learn and everybody's got something to teach, and it's amazing. We're of a similar age, and I feel like I'm learning every day as well. So it's a really lovely community to be part of.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. And I hope I didn't ruin your series as a last one, which was not official, wasn't it?
You're the launch pad for next year. Everybody's got to be one notch higher than Gianluca, okay? Happy days. Thanks, mate.
Amazing.